All right. Welcome back to another episode of Seminole Sideline 365. My name is KB, and with me, as always, is the old man. We are back after if you joined us last Saturday for the post game reaction show, it was a interesting time, but
Rough, rough.
we're past that. So if you haven't watched that show, you
It's
want to
kind of
see.
like having a hemorrhoid, okay? That just itches like crazy. It hurts, and then it itches all week.
Well, okay, I wouldn't describe it like that, but if you haven't watched that show and you want to see how we reacted to it, we got on right immediately after the game, gave our thoughts, got some of the crowd reaction as you guys came in. So once again, we appreciate you coming up for that and giving your opinions, and we gave our opinions as always. And I want to give you time, since we've all had time to absorb that game, absorb some of the opinions, and see some of the game tape. But I wanted to and I did this show. This is going to be a show that's going to be talking about BC game and stuff like that. Obviously, as that game's coming up on Monday of Labor Day. So we have a few days to go for that. But I wanted to give you time to give us both some time to kind of give our final feedback on that game and what we saw, and just wrap it up. So I'll let you go first. What are your closing thoughts or comments or things you'd like to see coming out of that game?
Well, I wrote down a few notes today. I've been obviously monitoring the football intelligence on Florida State. I don't pay a lot of attention to other stuff, but I do find my man Prime is on TV tonight at 8 o'clock. Okay, but I did write down some stuff about the last game, the Georgia Tech game. Obviously, huge disappointment. The fan base was pretty much set up all summer through various means and methods, including the inside access FSU media type people that are allowed in, that have the press passes, okay, which we don't. We were denied that authority, so whatever. I think there was a big letdown. I mean, there was a huge letdown because this is a team you're supposed to beat, Georgia Tech. You're supposed to beat this team by 1 or by 35. You were supposed to beat them. What I've heard all week, especially from the FSU insider access, press pass access, big media group that puts out a constant barrage of information and has subscriber sales, is that there were little apologies there. They got hammered this week by fans, right or wrong, who thought they were being misled, that they were being misled the whole summer and into the camp of what was going on, because they're the ones with the access. They're the ones that were there watching stuff. And at times they put out stuff that they were concerned about wide receivers, but I never heard any moans and groans about offensive line or defensive line or the quarterback situation. I didn't hear any moans and groans from those media types on that group. Only the wide receiver thing stood out, and the defense got constant applause. So that is one thing, but they started to spin that off a little bit, that we were telling the fans that there were going to be some issues. So they started to try to rebalance themselves a little bit and take some of the heat off, but they were definitely in a defensive mode. Now, to comment on that, we should say this, and we're talking heads. We don't have insider access, but here's my point. The people that have insider access really aren't putting out much better information than the same stuff we talk about. I don't ever see them break some big news story. If I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. I don't really see that. But the thing that gets me the most, KB, is when they do have that inside access to talk to the coaches and talk to the players, but mainly talk to Coach Norvell and the head coaches like Adam Fuller and Coach Atkins. Their questions suck, okay? And asking the right questions is an art. It's a learning thing because some people just aren't good at asking questions in a normal conversation. Okay. The main thing is I am disappointed in the types of questions that are asked. I believe they're almost afraid to ask questions if they know how to ask them because they're afraid they could lose access. Because some coaches don't allow questions. They don't allow access from what I'm hearing around the country. So is the media a little tentative? But when I hear them on the air, or watch them, okay, they're always, well, why the hell, they're talking to each other like United. Why the hell is Cam Davis in the game as a freshman he's the number 5 guy on the depth chart? What the hell is he doing in the game so early? And they throw him a pass. I mean, that's the question. And that's how you should be asking it. Not to your buddy in the chair at the mic. Ask Coach Norvell that question. Why? All these good questions they ask each other, I never hear them come up during the press conferences. The press conferences are boring and you learn nothing. And I often say that on X. Okay, I often say that. So that's a big problem that I have and with that. And I'll give you a comment in a minute. Okay, here's my next comment. All is not lost yet. This is a different playoff system. Okay, this is a different playoff system. That was a conference game though, so that is a tough bullet to take because it was a conference loss. Okay, it's not like you just played Florida and lost, or you played Notre Dame and lost. Those don't count towards the conference and you getting to the conference championship game. Now you have reduced your room for errors. You have really reduced your room for errors in conference games. Okay, but everything's not lost yet. Everything can come back. With one loss, you could still make it to the ACC championship game, possibly. 2 losses maybe in a conference, you might get there. Okay, so if you win the ACC, you still go to the playoffs, which obviously is the expectation here. I expect and we'll get into it, and I won't elaborate. I expect a big response against BC, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And the last thing I have is there was a lot of discussion this week about the rotation of player reps. Why was this big rotation of players when Florida State only had, 61 snaps? I've got a note here. Florida State on offense only had 61 snaps. Why would you play 7 offensive linemen in that game then? I didn't see any substantial injuries to anybody.
But you're always the one talking about people have to get snaps and they have to get experience.
No, but I'm saying when you only have in a longer game, this was 61 snaps on offense. So that's something I think is a problem. Listen, these guys play your best people. One of the criticisms out there this whole week from fans and some of the media, it was like, is Norvell trying to please everybody? You've talked about that a little bit about retaining coaches. Is he trying to please every player by getting him into games? Okay. And in this particular game, it hurt you. You know, the offensive starters should be able to go 61 snaps. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So those are my opening bullets.
All right, so that was a lot. You called out the media, so that wasn't what I was thinking.
Well, you can comment. You can comment on whatever I said. Those are my words; they're not yours.
So yeah, having digested and reading a lot, and if you could stop moving around papers, it's really loud. But
sorry.
I think after watching this game and digesting there was a lot of missed opportunities on the field, and I think a lot of it, once again, and we can repeat this, there was a lot of missed opportunities on the offensive side, and I think a lot of the game that's on the game plan. And I think that the defense had some opportunities, and a lot of it was they were just reacting slow. but there also was some good plays, and there were some things that I missed, and the defense was once again slow to get to the ball a couple of times, and there was just a lot of missed opportunities that could have won you this game. And I want to highlight some of these things that someone showed on Twitter. A couple of these plays here that I thought were interesting. One of them is a couple of you get real close. So like I said, I think we look back and Josh Farmer does get here a couple of times, and these are things that you didn't see right away, you didn't react to right away, but Farmer, once again, I remember this play. He, that shows that this is something you can grow from.
Run that again. I mean, that hole was as big as he threw the guy to the side.
That's what I'm saying.
He made that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, his technique worked there. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. When we get more of these opportunities, when we're playing, when you can force a team to have to throw the ball, they didn't get many of these opportunities because they were running for, Georgia Tech ran for 200 plus yards on it. So. But if we can force teams into third and long, second and long, get negative yards on first down or get a big stop, hopefully Josh Farmer can do this consistently, right? That would be the goal here, because that shows.
Yeah, he totally beat that guard,
and it led to an incompletion, and that's what we want to see more of come the coming weeks in week 1 and beyond. We need to see more of this from DJ Lundy. This is a play where he saw the right hole. He attacked it, and he stopped the ball rusher. That's what we need to see from DJ Lundy. Too many times last week, he missed. He ran the wrong hole. He overcommitted to one hole or one side, and he missed the gap. But this is what we have to see consistently from DJ Lundy and these linebackers. Omar Graham did not play very well. He got a ton of snaps, more than Blake Nicholson, I think more than Cam Riley. This is what we need the linebackers to do.
Yeah, Omar Graham had 35 snaps. 35 snaps out of the 52 defensive snaps. Cam Riley had 27 snaps, and Blake had 17.
But going into week 1 and playing against athletic quarterback in Castellanos and Trayshawn Ward and the players they have, skill position players, you're going to have to wrap up guys. They didn't wrap up enough against Haynes and Georgia Tech, and that led to too many after touch yardage. And so you have to do more of that. So I thought that was impressive and something that we need to take note of. The last thing was this, is that once again, you see this. Now, this is a great play by Haynes King, but you look at Marvin Jones on the edge here. He makes a great play. Make one-on-one play right there, number 7, and it's just Haynes King throws it between two linebacker and a defensive back. Right. But Marvin Jones shows the ability with one move, he can get there. Now the defensive back's got to do their job, because this is quick. Haynes King is falling backwards and makes his throw, and that's a great throw, and that's a big play. But if we can get into more of these passing type situations, you see some glimpses where these guys that you brought in like that can get there. Now, and that's the positive situation. You see plays like that. You see glimpses of why you brought a guy like Marvin Jones in as a positive. Now, the negative is plays like this. And this, Patrick Payne really stood out to me as someone who needs to step it up or figure it out. Because you see a play like this, and this is not his passing situation. He gets stood up by a tight end. I believe this is a true freshman tight end or a freshman tight end. I don't know what's happening. They're lucky this guy falls down, because that's a completion. But look at, I don't know if he's playing, he's guarding for the run attempt.
Well, he could be part of that.
This is a clearly passing situation. I mean,
you're breaking up some, KB.
You're not playing for a design run, in my opinion. It's 3rd and 12. You're playing for the pass. They're on their
he's not trying to just hold the edge there. Yeah.
That's my opinion, because they're on their 17. It's 3rd and 12. I don't think there's many scenarios or predictions that they're going to draw this up as a running play with the quarterback. Maybe, but the way he's pressing makes it look like he's trying to get to the quarterback, and he fails terribly on that play. So that was a little disappointing in watching that and his effort there. There was one more play, too, I wanted to show in terms of effort on Patrick Payne's part, is this play right here. Watch him on the edge right here. Now, this isn't on him for not making the tackle, but just watch him in this play and watch the pursuit once the play breaks open. Oh, play's over. Doesn't run back in the screen. Now, compare this to what Jared Verse would have done last week.
We didn't see anything on the screen there.
That's what I'm saying. He loses the play, doesn't pursue. He just gets stood up and then stops playing football. He doesn't run back to try to pursue the play. He never comes back in the frame. Look at him. Ball's right here. He's not pursuing anything. He's just walking up. And that's what I'm saying. It may seem like a little thing, but there was effort plays like that where Jared Verse would have thrown the guy off of him and come run back in the frame to pursue the football, even though he's behind it. Things like that, the effort plays like that, is what I didn't see from Patrick Payne specifically.
Well, the coaches during the week have said, first of all, they said the linebacker play was bad. Not ideal was the word. Not ideal. There was criticism, even though Mike Norvell took full accountability. And let's talk about that for a minute. Some of the leading media people thought that when Mike Norvell said that, it was a very noble move on his part. I don't see it as noble. It is his responsibility, whether you're a company executive or a football coach or president of the United States, it's your accountability. It's not a noble move. Most coaches, head coaches do that. When there's a game you're supposed to win and you lose, they take full responsibility to shield from their players. Okay, so it's not like something special Mike did there. Let's be honest about that. But they were surely saying that this effort was not good enough. It's not what was expected. Now, one of the questions that should have been asked to Coach Norvell when he says, I take full accountability, I didn't do my job to prepare this team. The next question out of that audience should have been, what is it you would have changed about your game plan? No question. Not like that. But go on. Go ahead.
Yeah, the last things I'll touch on, because I'm not going to try to get in the mind of Mike Norvell at this moment. But the kind of things, a couple of last things I would have touched on is quarterback play. I mean, I think DJU did enough not to lose the game, but I don't know if he did enough to win the game. And one of the prime examples I think everyone's seen at this point is, as Franklin Saint says, this ball was thrown out of bounds. DJU has 3 receivers wide open, great pocket in front of him, wide open guy coming across the middle, guy cutting open in the middle as well, and then you have this receiver who's cutting outside. This ball doesn't land in bounds. This ball lands far outside, out of bounds somehow. And that's the type of thing that outside of the drive in the first half, which was mostly running, and the last drive of the fourth quarter for offense, you didn't see. I only think he had 1 or 2 balls completed. I think it was 2 of 6 for balls above 10 yards. And that was concerning to me. And I know they didn't call a ton of passes long, but this was concerning to me in terms of field vision. And I know it's week 1, you're getting adjusted, he's getting used to the system, but he seems slow in week 0. And I think that is something he can improve upon. And I'm hoping to see that improve upon in week 1 against BC. But that was a concern to me in terms of plays like this. And I don't know how many more plays like this he may have missed, because obviously I don't have the field vision of angles like this on every play. But this was concerning to me because this could have been a big play for Florida State, and instead it wasn't even in the field play. It was way out of bounds, and that was one concerning play to me. But I hope that that's something that he can capitalize this weekend. So that's all I want to say in terms of the game, and I'd like to see Jalen Lucas, another offensive player, get more touches. If you're talking about asking Mike Norvell about the Georgia Tech game, it would have been why did Jalen Lucas not get any touches out of the first drive? I mean, we saw what he did in the first drive. That led to a touchdown. He
admitted in the press conference. In fact, it was some presser guy asked. I don't even know who it was, because you can't hear who they are because the mics are shitty. He did ask the best question in that press conference to Norvell. The early press conference this week was about Jalen Lucas. Jalen Lucas was early in the game, in a bunch of snaps, and then you never saw him again. And Norvell admitted, I need to do a better job on management of Jalen Lucas. Yeah. So he admitted full responsibility for that by name. Jalen Lucas had 7 touches, 7 snaps he played. Not 7 touches, right, but 7 snaps in that game.
Right here, yeah. Points out.
Keziah Holmes had 4. Cam Davis had 12.
which
snaps.
is they're playing too much. Give it to everyone ball. They need to be more consistent with who they give the ball to and give opportunities to, instead of trying to feed everybody the same amount of snaps and stuff. Especially on
That's the question. Why is that? And that should have been asked at the press conference. Are you trying to get everybody in to please everybody, or why aren't you playing the best guys? There weren't that many snaps. Just play the best guys.
That's what I'm saying. And on that first drive, like it's pointing out here, 3 missed tackles, 2 first downs, 18 yards on 3 carries. Give it to a guy who's making the defense have to move and is breaking tackles. I don't know why. And that's not to say I didn't think that, like you've already said.
So
they're
the
trying to
question,
go too deep in their bag of tricks sometimes.
Well, we don't know why though, KB. We don't know why because the question doesn't get asked, and that's what burns me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Now, Jalen Lucas isn't a big back like Cam Davis is, but Jalen Lucas is an explosive guy. If he bursts through a hole, he could go all the way. If he gets around the edge, he could go all the way. If he catches a pass, he could go all the way in space. He's a very explosive player that's had game experience, and he got misused, and no one asked why.
Well, and if you're talking about, and if someone brought up the Cam Davis throw,
and no one brought up Cam Davis. They brought up Jalen Lucas.
Okay. But I'm saying in that I think it was in the fourth quarter, it was the 3rd down, and they threw Cam Davis in the game, which I thought was weird. I was like, deep in the game, I know you want to use all your players, but that would have been the spot where I would have used probably Jalen Lucas. Experience, good hands, stuff like that. But you put a true freshman in. And he can't make, I don't know. But
yeah, the guys who were talking about Cam Davis were 2 reporters on one of the shows.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, and I'm not going to be able to show it here, but I think Cam Davis did pretty well in pass blocking, to his credit. I think he was able to put some hits on some guys and do pretty well in pass blocking, which is going to allow him to get on the field. So I think he did a pretty good job there. All right. Are we ready to move forward to the BC game?
Let me see if I got anything else. Yeah, like we said, there were only 14 total drives, 7 each by both teams. It seemed to be both strategies were to control the ball and drain the clock, and that's exactly what happened. I have never seen a Florida State game like that in my life, and I go back to the 60s on monitoring games. We had 61 offensive snaps, 52 defensive snaps, and Grady Kelly on the defensive side only got in on 5 snaps. Wasn't he a starter for Colorado State last year?
I think he was the key contributor for them.
Wasn't he like all conference guy or second team, third team, all conference guy for them? He got in on only 5 snaps, which I don't know what the hell that means. I mean, but it's an interesting question, so I wrote that down. This week on defensive end, now Loahea had 13 snaps. They said he did pretty well.
They said they're going to get him a lot.
He graded out. He should get more reps at defensive end.
Yeah.
DJ Lundy had 41 snaps. Omar Graham, he and Lundy were the 2 biggest linebackers out there. And then the Shaheem Brown got all week ACC for his 13 tackles plus. That it is what it is. Okay, so it's like anything else. We're done with that game. Now you move forward.
Yep. And so I think you're going to see a similar game plan as we go into BC and the type of team they have. I think they're they're a little bit of a worse version of what Georgia Tech is. Last year they were terrible on defense, but pretty good on offense. If you look at the numbers for Boston College last year, you know what they return. Castellanos is one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC. But then, depending on the type of year he had, can you stop moving papers, please?
That's my notes.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna remove you. I'm gonna remove you, dude. It's not good for anyone else listening.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. But Castellanos, depending on the type of year he has, he could all a top 15, 20 quarterback in the country. So you're going to have to be, and last year he gave you fits. He threw for over 300 yards on you. So you're going to have to be able to defend that. Another mobile quarterback, a lot more mobile quarterback than Haynes King, in my opinion. He's not as physical, but he's a lot faster than Haynes King was. You're going to have to defend for his arm. His arm isn't probably as good as Hayden's game, but he's still dangerous with it, as he almost upset you guys last year or upset us last year. And then the weapons they have at receiver and running back. You know, they have Trayshawn Ward, who we're all very familiar with, and the ability he has in the open field and his speed and his ability to take a hit. And then they brought in some big transfers. Jerand Bradley from Texas Tech, who's got a lot of experience. He's a big guy, 6'5", 222, was an all-conference, all-American as a freshman. He brings in a lot of experience, and I think he's going to be a big key X factor for them in this game as they try to balance out the run attack. But I think run attack in the receiving game. But I think this is going to be a game where Boston College is going to try to establish the run early. It's going to be a little bit of misdirection. They're going to try to take, I think, the Georgia Tech playbook against Florida State and run it against them, because I think the thing we all forget, and I forgot, is that with the rules changes, the games go, like you just stated before, the games go a lot faster, and you can be limited to 7 possessions, which Florida State was last year. Georgia Tech came in knowing they could keep Florida State off the field, their chances of winning the game go higher. And by limiting Florida State to 7 possessions, they did that by not stopping the clock. And how did they do that? By not throwing the ball. Because first, the clock no longer stops on first downs. And that speeds up the game. So what did Georgia Tech do? They ran the ball, they ran misdirections, they kept people moving, and they limited the amount of times they had to throw. And every time they get a first down, clock keeps running, clock keeps spinning, and they chunk play, or, drives that last 8 or 9 minutes. And Florida State on the flip side wasn't scoring fast, and they, 3 and out, punt. So we didn't make our possessions last, or our possessions count when they needed to, and we only got 7 of them. So I think Boston College to come in, if they say, if we can limit the amount of times that Castellanos has to throw, just like they did last week with Georgia Tech, only 16 passes, and be able to run it down Florida State's throat, that's what they're going to try to do. Keep the clock moving, score when possible, and make this a close game going to the fourth. Because this was like 25-point line spread in May and June, and now it's down to 16 points, I believe. So there's a lot of money going towards, going the other way right now, and that's moving that line down, which I think is rightfully
it's like,
so.
What, 15 points?
Yeah, down from what it used to be 25 points a couple of months ago, before last week. So I think this is a big game. The Florida State defensive line is going to have to prove itself. The linebackers are going to have to prove, I'm interested to see what the changes they make there, and how Adam Fuller, if he's going to decide that he's going to have to load up the box a little bit, or if he's going to have to add extra pressure to set the edges. Because last week they weren't able to set the edges. They weren't able to stop the run game in the middle consistently. And you're going to have to do that against BC to win this game and not be in a tight one into the fourth. Because like I said, this offense is similarly stacked in terms of the types of weapons. Now, not to the degree that Georgia Tech was, but Georgia Tech was able to do it with these last week. And so that's what scares me going against BC with the types of guys that they have at different levels. Now, their offensive line isn't as elite as Georgia Tech's, but you still got to respect their quarterback play, running back play, and some of the receiving weapons that they have. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you did a pretty good summary there. I'm just going to add to that a little bit. Yeah, Castellano is the type of guy that he can, he's kind of a guy like, I don't want to say he's Jordan Travis-like, but he's Jordan Travis-like in that he can make a broken play a long gainer. You know? He's the type of guy you have him 3rd and 15, and he takes off for a run, and he picks up 18 yards, and they're back with first down chains again. Castellanos has to be dealt with. If he has a good game, they will keep it close, okay? They will keep the game close. Now, the other guy we need to talk about who's going to come in wanting to prove something, and that is their new running back, Trayshawn Ward. And he's not the only running back they have. Trayshawn Ward is going to come in hungry to eat. He wants to show, and I'm sure the FSU fans will give him a big welcome home, okay, at the beginning of the game. And then it'll drift off, obviously. But he's a dangerous guy. And they have some other backs that they're going to have. Now, they did lose on their offensive line. They lost 2 all-ACC players on the offensive line to the NFL. So they've got some inexperience there even though some of the guys stepping up have been on the team, they're not like freshmen or something. They did bring in a number of transfers that they're counting on. And the guy I think we have to be a little leery of is the new head coach, Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
Now, Bill O'Brien's been around, all right? He's not a newcomer. He's kind of, I want to say, over the peak of his coaching career, but he brings a hell of a lot of experience to this coaching team, and a lot of experienced coaches came in with him. They're going to be ready. They have broken down this film. They've looked at the Georgia Tech game, and they're going to try to exploit some of the same things that Georgia Tech did. So they're not going to be stupid. Now, one of the things I heard out of BC's eyes in the sky is that they want Bill O'Brien is more of a drop back passer type of coach. He's going to want to see Castellanos stay more in the pocket, deliver the ball out of the pocket, and only run when necessary. I think there will be some design quarterback runs, but if there's pressure, you're going to see Castellanos take off and try to run and get yardage. I think it's going to be a fascinating game, especially with Bill O'Brien as the head coach, who has come back to New England. He's from that area. He's got a lot of familiarization with that area. And he coached with the New England Patriots at one time. He worked with Tom Brady. So he's been around a lot. And I think it'll be fascinating to see what he draws up. The question is, does he have the horses in the stable to get the execution he's going to need? It's going to be a big sold-out crowd there on a big wild Monday night, and hoping for good weather and some good football. 15 points. I want to say we're going to cover again. I thought we'd win big last week. I want to see this Florida State team cover this week. And if they don't cover, it's going to set up, we have BC at home. Georgia Tech, as far as I'm concerned, was a home game because of our crowd over in Ireland. Then you have Memphis at home, and then you have Cal at home. If you win these games, you could be 3-1 as you take your road trip out to SMU.
Yeah.
And that's what I would expect will be 3-1. I don't know exactly what the scores will be. It could come down to a Fitz field goal where he kicks one through that we win the game, a walk-off. I think we'll be 3-1 when we go to SMU.
Yeah. No, I think everything you said is correct. And I think it'll be interesting to your point of how Bill O'Brien handles Castellanos, because like you said, and when we just looked at his stats, I think I may still have his stats still up, but where he struggled last year, because he was off to a really, really hot start to begin the year, and then where they struggle is when he started to struggle in throwing the football. Even though he was like 4 touchdowns to 1 interception last year against Florida State, he struggled towards the second half of the season in his accuracy. And so that's where we'll see, how did this offseason go? Bill O'Brien wants him to be a drop-back passer. Was he able to take that step? Sort of like Jordan Travis developed. And we saw that in Jordan Travis's game too, where he became more of a pocket passer and wasn't taken off every single time. But he was still able to make those special plays, right? And so it'll be interesting to see, is that how Bill O'Brien's going to approach Thomas and how they approach the offense? Is it to stand in the pocket, make the play with your arm, or is it, if you see a lane, make the run? It'll be really interesting.
I think in the comments I made, a lot of the insights I got were watching some of the BC Eagles broadcasts like ours or others. One guy in particular who seems to have the edge on comments is a guy, the BC Eagles insider, Mitchell Wolf, and one of the things he said is that O'Brien is much of more of an old style, hammer the ball, set up the pass with the run, not the opposite, okay, and keep the chains moving, control the ball, and like you just said, that's what they're going to try to do. And it's going to be, can Florida State stop them? Now, on the opposite side, they lost a couple of good linebackers. The best one they lost was a guy named DePalmer, who was a tough linebacker for them inside. He's gone. Here's the thing, though, that gives them a little advantage. I don't think DJU did that badly for Florida State. I think it was the defensive lines who lost the game. DJU, when he tried to run, I thought he was going to be more mobile. He looked hesitant to run, and when he decided to run, he was indecisive, and he looked very slow trying to run. He looked, he doesn't look like a running quarterback to me in that first game. Now, I could be totally wrong, but he's not what I would call a highly explosive running quarterback.
Well, I don't think he's what, 240? I mean, he's not going to be
about 250.
He's going to be like Ben Roethlisberger type. Once he gets ahead of steam, he can get you the yardage, but he's not he's not twitchy. He's not going to be able to go from 0 to 60 very fast. He's gonna have to make the decision and go. He's not going to be able to just
juke people. And juke people out of the way. He's not set up that way. That could be a little advantage for the BC defense, knowing that I don't think they're going to feel a threat of him as a runner, which means they can play that a little bit differently in terms of attacking the pocket. But I think that'll be I think it's going to be an interesting matchup of wits, too, because Norvell said, I'll take blame. I didn't set my team up right for Georgia Tech. Well, let's see what he does for this week.
Yeah, and I would say, too, to that point, it'll be interesting to see how they call the game if they open up the playbook a little bit and try to establish a better balance between run and pass. Because last week it seemed like Georgia Tech was just kind of pinning their ears back and going after the quarterback and going after the run. Like they were filling the box and not respecting the receivers of Florida State to do anything and to be able to pass the ball to them. And to that point, I don't think they should have respected them because they weren't showing anything, right? They weren't spreading the ball out, and that works. So it'll be interesting to see how Florida State and Alex Atkins and Norvell, how they game plan.
Atkins is not going to be there again.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're game playing this week. He can still coach this week. But how do they drop the game plan? Do they open up the playbook? Do they try to attack the middle of the field? Now, it doesn't mean that they have to go 30-yard bombs every single drive, but can they do what they did in that fourth quarter drive to tie the game? Slant passes, 5, 10, 15-yard plays, try to look for a big play down the middle, or just look for the spread, open up the field, use your tight end a little bit, get the guys on one-on-ones on in the slot, like use your speed to your advantage. And it doesn't have to be a 60-yard bomb. It could just be those one-on-one matchups. And then if it isn't open, then hit the lane and try to run for it. But you have to make those defensive backs respect that you're going to throw the ball down the field a little bit, and not just for 1 or 2 yards, which honestly, most of the passes last week were around the line of scrimmage, and you can't just play like that the entire game.
The question, KB, which was raised by a lot of people, was was that Norvell's game management fault, or was that he's afraid to use DJU? These were all the questions that were out there. What did just others were saying? Let him just play. Give him the playbook. Let him play to his strengths, but. Do you have him on a short leash? There was a lot of questions. And of course, the questions that were asked to the coaches, we get nothing back because the questions are bad. So you really don't know. We're asking us the same questions that's gone on all week, and nobody has any answers.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting. So I think it's an interesting matchup. I think the 15 points is close to what I would say. I think it'll be close. It'll be, once again, I think it'll come down to the line of scrimmage. I think Florida State's got to show that they can stop the running game, because you want to have Castellanos, even though he beat you up pretty badly with 300 yards last year. I think you have to make him prove that he can pass the ball all over you. And you have to allow these defensive backs that we've heard so much about, that they're elite this year, let them do their job this year. Now that brings up the concerns now. Can these linebackers hold up in space? Can they hold up in pass coverage? Well, that's another concern that we may have to address after this game.
That's going to be interesting to
But
see.
we have to start with one thing. If we can stop the run, then that solves one issue, and then we'll have to worry about the other issue. But we have to establish a line of scrimmage and put pressure on this quarterback and close up the running lanes.
Now, one of the things I wanted to add came out of the BC Insiders is that on the quarterback play, expect to see Castellanos in the shotgun a lot. That's what O'Brien's history is. He likes his quarterback in the shotgun position in snaps. So could we get a bad snap and get a fumble? We need to get a turnover, something like that would be good. But he is going to be in the shotgun quite a bit. So
yeah, it's in the last quarterback that, I mean,
you don't see too many quarterbacks up under center anymore. I mean, you just don't see it because the NFL model is shotgun.
No. I was going to say the last quarterback that Bill O'Brien worked with that was sort of similar to Castellanos was Bryce Young. But Bryce Young wasn't really a mobile quarterback. Like he had the ability to make plays with his legs, but he wasn't really a mobile type guy at Alabama. But maybe that's the selling point. Like, you know, if you want to get to the next level, he was a first round overall pick, number 1 overall pick. You know, they're both in that 6'5", 9", 5'11" range, under 190-ish pounds, and that may be the model that he's going to try to take those tools and make him try to make him into a pass first quarterback. And so once again, first game of the season, we'll see how it goes, or if the game plan is maybe Bill O'Brien's changed, maybe he'll try to mix in both. But I do agree with you. I think they're going to try to make him sit back. But if that line breaks down, the game plan goes out the window. If the Florida State line steps up, does their job, that game plan of sitting back will go out the window. You do what it takes to win at the end of the day.
This is a big game for the defense on Florida State. Big game for both sides of the line for Florida State. I think it's going to tell us. I don't know what this game's going to tell us. It's going to tell us we've improved and now we know how to win a game. But the team we're playing, they're looking to just get to a bowl game. They're looking to get to 6 wins. So what that will tell us long range, I'm not sure. Well, we'll know when we go to Dallas for SMU what we're really dealing with at this point. Yeah. And so I think it'll be a very interesting game. I'm looking forward to it on Monday night.
Yeah, because this team, as of this point right now, Florida State has no identity. They don't know what they are. They don't know if they're a run-first team on offense, passing team, mix. They don't know what kind of defense they are. Are they aggressive? They have no identity at this point. So it's important they come out and they establish identity in this game. We come out knowing what type of team this is and who's going to be the true stars of this team, because I don't know what this team looks like after last week. And I think it's important that they come out, play hard, win the game, and we start to see.
Well, they have to win this game. They have to win this game. This is a conference game. This is the second conference game. It's you should be 1-0 in conference now. You have to be at least 1-1 after this game. Yeah. And if you lose this game, then you're looking at a different situation. And I don't believe the Florida State Seminoles are going to lose this game. I just don't believe it. No. And you said you had a storm. Do you hear that crackle?
I see it now.
It is pouring out now here. Yeah. Pouring down rain.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting because this is once again, we're only week 1, but this is a gut check for this team to identify who they want to be the rest of the season and if they're ready to step up. And there's no reason they shouldn't be. But this is a wake up call and they need to figure out who they are and quickly. So that's it. So we're obviously we're both picking Florida State, but it's not an easy test. It's not like you're playing Duquesne in week 1. It's another ACC matchup, like you said. So, yeah, that's it for now. Obviously, we'll be watching on Monday.
A big weekend of football.
Yeah, big weekend of football.
In fact, a game's going on right now, and North Dakota State leads Colorado.
Yes. So, pop over there if you guys are. If you got the cable stations, they are all going on.
And this is this is another thing that all summer long in camp, Coach Prime and his coaches and Warren Sapp, we got dogs that are ready to hunt. I mean that's part of coaching. Coaching by the positive methodology is you never say anything really negative. I get that, but sometimes people are getting overhyped. Fans get overhyped because of what you say, right? So
yeah.
This is going to be a good game. North Dakota State right now is throwing the ball all over the field, and they're completing a lot of them. It's going to be a good game. So that's on right now. I think it's what channel is that on? ESPN.
ESPN. And NC
Okay.
State's down to Western Carolina in the second quarter. So
Yeah,
and they have a new quarterback, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. So it's his first game with them, and
yeah.
they're behind early, or it's tied early. So that's a game
You
you
know,
can put on.
and then Saturday you have the
plenty of games on
you
Saturday.
have who's the first game at noon? Is
it
Georgia Clemson?
Georgia Clemson, yeah.
Georgia Clemson, 3:30. The Gators take on Miami, and that evening Texas A&M and Notre Dame, and then Monday night you get Florida State. It's going to be a good weekend of football, and it's gonna set up a lot of talking points across the country for a lot of people who do this for business. You know,
there'll be a lot of good games to watch. So yeah, tune in.
So what are you picking on this game on BC? What's your
I'm picking
what's
Florida
your
State.
score? What's your are you picking the spread over or under?
No, I'll pick under the spread. I think it's be.
I'm going to go over
7 to 10 points.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say they clear. I think it'll maybe drop down a point or two. You know, maybe down around 12.
I take the points with BC because I think it's going to be 7 to 10 points for Florida State. But
yeah, I think you have to respect Coach Bill O'Brien. This guy's been around. He's not coming in there scared. He's gonna learn about his team too, but it is their opening game. So he's going to learn a lot as well in a big crowd atmosphere. What are we going to have, 70, 80,000 there maybe?
Yes. Well, with the new stadium renovation, it's going to be a little bit lower. So you got to remember that. So, and this is going to be the first time us seeing the new state, like the smaller stadium because of the renovations.
Yeah, it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy.
Yeah. So enjoy the game, everyone. Enjoy the game. Have a great Friday.
And we'll have a show right after the game, right? A reaction show.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we will.
All right. So join us for that. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game. Let us know your comments on the video. Who you think is going to win? Obviously, who do you think is going to stand out? And we look forward to reading them.
Hit that like for us, please. Whether you see this live or you see it. And we love our viewers who are after the fact. When you see this on a recording, please hit that like button. That helps us a little bit, and it shows, just keeps us energized. You got to be motivated. Got to go.
Awesome. Okay. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the holiday. Hopefully you get some time off, but enjoy college football. And we'll see you on Monday. Go Noles.
Let's go.
See you soon.